Hello friends, welcome back to the Decades Challenge. I know it's been a couple weeks. I'm very sorry about the delay. As you can probably tell, life is very chaotic. Apparently, like working part-time, having a baby, writing a novel, and doing a YouTube channel is just, it's a lot. So things may be a little bit sporadic for the time being, but don't worry, we will never, just randomly completely stop. We will always come back to the episodes. We're back with the Wortham family in 1325, and we are in the dead heart of winter. As you can see, Grim is here, and we are losing some of our chickens. Now, a lot of you have given me the great suggestion of, cutting the chickens or trading the chickens for meat, which I've been doing when I remember. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a little bit of that right now. There are a lot of chickens we lose that I just forget to account for. But as you can see, a lot of the children are still waking up Shaywin instead of their parents when things are a little bit rough in the household at night. I know you guys mentioned I could turn the monsters off, like the monsters under the bed off with MC Command Center. I can't find it. I don't know why I can't find it, but I can't find it. So if anyone wants to help me figure that out, I would greatly appreciate it. Frederick is helping out with the baby. We have little Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn has been born after we've lost an aggressive amount of infants for poor Gretchen. I mean, Gretchen has really been through it, but she is, well, very uncomfortable. She's not exactly enjoying her time here, which I can't say that I completely blame her. I mean, this house is just a mess. There are so many children that are outnumbering the parents, and only one of them is of a functional age to actually help out around the house. So that means that Shaywin is doing pretty much most of the work around the house. He's doing the laundry, he's hanging the laundry, he's kind of babysitting his siblings, or I guess most of these kids aren't his siblings, they're actually his nieces and nephews. So it's a lot. There's a lot going on. He also has zero fun, ever. So I decide, you know what? Shaywin deserves it. Shaywin needs something to play with. So I give him this great little wooden monkey bar set, and I'm hoping that can help him to not be so outrageously sad all the time. Gwendolyn also ages up, which is really exciting, I think. I don't know. I haven't decided whether the toddlers or the infants are worse in this game because both are very high maintenance in a way that I was never expecting. I mean, we really said give us a challenge and EA was like, here, have fun, good luck. Hi, Beanie Baby. Annie's just on the floor like mesmerized by the lights. She's like, oh. So I did get some new hairs for the infants. I don't have a lot, but I have a couple. So I give her this like slightly textured hair, and hopefully she's gonna be a good little infant. And we also have a birthday. It's a very exciting one. It's Shaywin's. He is aging up into a preteen, and hopefully this means that he is a little bit closer to enjoying his life a bit more. He didn't really have much of a childhood, although the experience of childhood is subjective, right? It depends on the culture, it depends on the time frame, and so I'm kind of getting a bit of a mischievous romantic sim vibe from him. I don't know why, but we're gonna give him this like villainous romantic aspiration, and that is definitely the wrong skin tone. I'm sorry, Shaywin, but we're gonna have to fix that. My skin tones are a mess. It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. So here is Shaywin. He looks so much like Gretchen and not that much like his dad. I don't really see a whole lot of Adric in him, which is kind of unfortunate. But now, Shaywin is not the heir. Shaywin is, unless something happens to Andre. Andre is the blonde-haired kid. 1326 arrives and the house is still a nightmare. I haven't exactly figured out what's causing all of this trash. I thought I took my trash default out of the game because I thought it was broken, and it's still there. So I'm not really sure how to fix that. So I'm working on it, but it's fine. Shaywin is taking care of most of the cows and the chickens, and it's also time for Celestina to age up as well. She's aging up into a child, which I am greatly excited about because that means we have another helping hand for Shaywin. So hopefully Celestina is going to be a good little helper and will actually be kind of useful. She's adorable. She looks like such a good mix of her parents, both of whom are not with us anymore. If you remember in the last episode or two, we lost both Carolina and John. And so these kids are pretty much orphans being raised by grandparents? A grandmother? Like a step-grandmother? The family relationships in this household are a little tenuous, but she ages up and is very, very angry. Celestina, I think, has inherited a lot of Carolina's hot-headedness, which is ultimately what brought Carolina to her death. And so I'm a little nervous to see how that kind of ages up. As a child, those extreme moods can't kill her, but later on they can. Shaywin is also proving to be a really, really great sim with the kids. He's also going through a mean streak just because that's, of course, what we need in this household. Trash and mean streaks. You know, it's not stopping him from doing the work, and so I'm just gonna let him have at it. Like, I'm sorry, Shaywin, but of course. So we've got Gregoria and Sigrid. Gregoria is having a bit of a difficult family dynamic with her older sister Celestina, and Celestina, I think, maybe feels a bit of jealousy towards the infants and the toddlers because they don't have to be engaging in so much household work. I mean, the thing is, this isn't even a very large functioning farm, and it's already so much work. So let's go ahead and trade in some more chickens for meat. Celestina kind of takes every moment she can for some privacy, which includes taking care of the animals and just sort of hanging out there with a book. She's not necessarily literate, but we also do have to remember that forms of literacy in this era aren't necessarily just from language, but also pictures as well. So I'm just going to kind of go with the fact that she's reading some picture books. I decide to send Shaywin out into town so that he could maybe meet some people his age, have some fun, and of course I send him to the pub, and there's no pub owner or barista, and so none ever shows up. I'm guessing this is a broken mod. I just updated them. I just updated them, and it's still a problem. So poor Shaywin has to make his own drink, and he literally doesn't find anyone to talk to. So I'm like, you know what? While you're out, maybe just stop by the cemetery, maybe say hi to your dad, get a little bit of guidance from the other world, and I mean, I was really hoping he would meet anyone that could be an interesting romantic prospect for him, and instead we met absolutely not a single sim. Just, of course, how it goes. So he cries in front of his dad's grave, and he is really missing his father, missing his brothers, his sister, and anyone who could really help the household just to be a little bit more organized and run, because as much as we love Gretchen, Gretchen is not the most organized sim. She is an agent of chaos, and at least she's not an evil sim anymore because she lost that trait, but I still don't see her running a household particularly well. Really, no one is running the household well since, gosh, what was her name, Briar? I think her name was Briar. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I'm gonna have to check. But he says hello to his dad. His dad gives him some advice, and they just chat a little bit, and it was really a nice moment. So I decide maybe let's go send Gretchen for foraging. I shouldn't have actually had her do that because it's in winter, and I told myself I wouldn't do any harvesting during winter. Swiftly, 1327 arrives, and Gwenllian is no longer an infant, but a toddler, which she will be for the next 18 days. I think that's the worst part about these lifespans for this challenge, is that you spend so long with the toddlers, and the toddlers are kind of a nightmare. She gets the silly trait, and she's one step closer to becoming a fully functional sim, because we need it. Gretchen takes care of the cows. We have 2 cows now. We lost one of our cow to an early death. I think I forgot to trade him for meat, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it goes. Celestina works a little bit on her violin skill. I did download a loot mod, but apparently like the actual loot for the mod wasn't showing up. So we'll come back to the loot situation. We're starting to run out of vegetables, and so we're relying on a lot of pottage, a lot of gruel, a lot of onion soup, which isn't exactly the most scrumptious of situations, but you know what? We don't have to pay for it, and we don't need a million vegetables for it. And of course, 1327 also brings with it a midlife crisis for Gretchen, which is obviously just what we need when it comes to impoverished Sims. It is also time for Sigrid to leave us. So Sigrid is unfortunately coming down with a sickness. It's very obvious that she's not going to survive the sickness, just kind of based on the symptoms. It's probably fairly consumptive. And of course her sister is just like digging in garbage right next to her, because of course she is. Andre is also aging up into a child. Andre is in our heir. And I'm very excited to see how his personality develops, just because we're going to have him around the house the longest, unless he dies early, which, God, I hope not. If Andre dies, then it reverts to Shaywin, and I think Shaywin just wants to get out of here. Like, I would not blame Shaywin if he ages up and moves out and never comes back, because I probably wouldn't either. So Andre actually ages up with the genius trait, which was a little surprising to me. And we will definitely have to see how that kind of plays out in a house like this, especially in a family that is illiterate. So maybe he kind of ends up becoming a bit of a tinkerer of sorts. He's also a little mischievous, so I think he's going to prioritize fun a little bit more so than perhaps Shaywin and Celestina would. Celestina doesn't take a lot of time for herself, but she will play the lute or the violin just to have a little bit of fun time. And oh great, we're freezing to death. Okay, all right, well maybe we go inside and warm ourselves up. He's also a little bit sick, so it's at this point that I realized that the Dickensian sickness mod is actually still in my game, and he gets one of them, and that is the last straw for me. I can't do it. I can't do it. We have lost so many Sims. Ooh, okay. We like idealistic Sims. So Celestina's a little bit more of an idealist, which is really interesting. And Celestina likes that her brother is a more cerebral Sim. Now, together, they have a very interesting combined sense of humor. And, you know, one is a little bit more silly and the other is a little bit more dry. And I kind of like how that goes. So Gretchen actually develops another personality trait. This girl is just picking up traits left and right. She's now neat, and I don't particularly feel like that fits her personality very well, but I'm also at the point where I'm like, we need a neat Sim. Have you seen the amount of trash that is lying around this house? It is desperate. It is so bad. So I let her have it, you know? I am not in the mood to qualm with the Sim gods or EA or whoever is determining these crazy trait selections. Andre will die if I don't get rid of this mod. So I go in and I completely erase the moodlet, and I hope that's enough to get rid of this situation. Also, sorry if I'm looking back and forth. I'm just making sure the baby is fine. She's on her little mat doing some tummy time. And she's been very fussy. So Gretchen and Frederick, despite everything, still have a really lovely romance. Although I think Frederick is feeling a little bit tricked into his involvement in this house of horrors, because that's really what it is with the amount of death that he's experienced only since he's moved in. We have some kind of shifting confidence situations. I think it's pretty obvious that Andre is a little bit different than his siblings and has a bit of a higher intellect and critical thinking skills. Oh, we've also got a fire, of course. And Celestina's not like that, and so I think she was struggling a little bit to be around her brother and kind of like feel that sort of inferiority. Shaywin, of course, this is the most terrifying moment of my life. Oh my gosh. So we have the fire, Shaywin puts it out, and Grim is here. I think Grim was here to take one of our chickens, or the cow, maybe? I don't know. But he comes inside like he's about to like reap someone from the fire. And then he just like walks away and hangs out in front of the lawn for hours. I can't get him to leave. So we just let him stay. No one's really interacting with Grim, but he's here. And this was giving me like major Sims 2 flashbacks from how many people in my Victorian Sims challenge have died in The Sims 2 from fires. So it's snowing again. Shaywin is finishing up the laundry because despite the fact that we now have 2 other kids in the household, Andre isn't the most helpful, and Celestina's, I think, doing a little bit more of the inside work. We also drop off Sigurd's grave at the cemetery, which is starting to look a little silly. I think I should have picked a bigger lot, but the fact of the matter is we don't have a lot of lots. Poor Shaywin again finds himself at the cemetery mourning the loss of another family member. Honey bear, honey, hi. Mourning the loss of another family member and generally just being really distraught. If anyone should have a midlife crisis in this household, it should be Shaywin, and he hasn't even reached his midlife. Actually, with the age expectancy we've been working with for this challenge, preteen might be a midlife situation. Gretchen is lasting a very long time. This is also supposed to be a snowball fight. No one's moving. Like, they stop, throw a snowball every 2 minutes, and then run, stop, throw a snowball. It's ridiculous. Also, she wants to get a divorce. Not really permitted to do that. For a second there, I was kind of thinking, what if we kill her husband? She used to be evil, right? Like, maybe that's her midlife crisis thing. She kills her husband. But she doesn't have the evil trait anymore, right? So maybe that's not exactly something we should do. And otherwise divorce just isn't feasible right now. Like, getting the ability to have divorce in your game is going to be a milestone later on in the challenge. So I don't want to just kind of throw that out willy-nilly when it's part of the restrictions. So you guys will have to let me know what you think about the notion of Gretchen killing her husband. I think we just need the help too much to lose him. And so I might in the past have done it for plot. I just don't feel like we have the luxury to do it for the plot right now, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's the way the cookie crumbles right now. We gotta take our lumps. Of course, the children are not only waking up Shaywin now, but everyone. They're waking up Frederick and Gretchen, and we don't need this. We really don't need this. So of course, everyone gets up the next day. We have some gruel, we have some pottage, and Celestina is playing her little fiddle again. And we also discover that Andre and Shaywin have a bit of a jokesters family dynamic. We have some really interesting family dynamics that are starting to brew between Andre and the other Sims. I'm not sure how much that's actually going to play into the real gameplay, but we'll see. Also, Celestina likes deception, which I was expecting that more from Andre than Celestina, but you know what? Sure. Gregoria, yay, is aging up into a child. Another helpful Sim. Although I'm finding the children less and less useful than Shaywin was. Shaywin and John were just the most useful children I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing, and I wish I just had carbon copies of them. So here she is. We give her some pretty little wavy hair that's kind of reminiscent of her, I would say, grandmother's. And that is where we are going to end today's episode. All right. Oh, don't grab the mic. So here's little Annie saying bye to everyone. Say bye. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. The next episode will be the prices recap. And after that, a new price episode. All right, see you later. Bye. Oh, can you eat the finger? Oh, yum, yum. Okay.